Kayn goes into a wall. Because when the Kayn goes into a wall, he has like 1.5 seconds to enter the wall, and then it lasts 5 seconds. So he can run through the wall and just start running away. But if you leap over the wall, he actually just goes back in the wall and goes the other way. So you shouldn't be scared as well as the Kayn to kind of toy with your enemies. And even if he flashes back, you just queue the other way. So like you have way more mobility tools as the Kayn. So I don't know what's going to happen here in terms of the champion select. But one thing I would like to see is the Maokai priority should be higher than Cho'Gath. Cho'Gath is almost purely disengage and peel for a backline, and you need hyper carries to really kind of make Cho'Gath work, in my opinion, in the late game. But Maokai can disengage and engage with both his ultimate and his W. So I feel like there's more versatility, more flexibility with Maokai than there is with the Cho'Gath.
Well, respect shown here for Phoenix1. Bans are LeBlanc, Gragas, and Kayn.
Yeah.
Is their final ban on the blue side. C9 with Zach, Elise, and Caitlyn. They're 3 for the red side. So we'll see what Phoenix1 have in mind for their first pick overall. And you said it, there's Maokai.
It should be higher priority. Like, I don't care if you give over Cho'Gath for this. I think that this is honestly right now better for like jungle leashes, the early game, the mid game, and the late game. I feel like Maokai right now is just kind of a notch above. Like we had tier lists, Maokai's the S+, and then Cho'Gath is the S.
Well, Impact certainly, as far as Maokai performers in the top lane, one of the best. It's always been a pick for him historically, and certainly able to show up there in that first game. Thresh, though, taken away from Xpecial and gifted over to Smoothie. So a nice little double there for Cloud9 in champ select, and kind of lining up pick number 2 here. A lot of different options to consider. I think Thresh was kind of the obvious one, but if they want to throw them, I'm going to take it now. Bottom laners certainly also spring to mind as far as what can happen, or even just taking another safe jungle matchup, but might be right on Kalista.
I was expecting to see this in game 1, and Thresh Kalista is actually a very potent bottom lane. And no, they're not going to go for it. The Jhin has just had the higher priority over the Kalista here in this matchup, which kind of blows my mind because Kalista is incredibly good right now.
I mean, maybe a symptom of the patch as well. 7-14 may have risen something like a Jhin, which can use more lethality, potentially up towards, you know, one of those first pick champions. I think a lot of good options here for Phoenix1 regardless. But we'll see what they do go with. And Sivir, this is a pick that I think a lot of people have been starting to see more of, especially against the likes of Jhin.
Wow. I was, you know, flaming freak for playing Sivir in solo queue last week.
Don't stop doing that.
But now, so when I was talking about Cho'Gath is pretty much the disengage, Sivir ultimate is now going to make it so the Cho'Gath gets to rush in, and so does the Maokai. There's a lot of engage potential here for Phoenix1. What is this team? Because of the fact that you get to, they didn't take Cho'Gath on Cloud9's side, you get both the S+ and S tier champions here, and they can play either top or jungle, so they get to figure out at the last minute what they want to be playing into. This is kind of cute from Phoenix1, and they have the enabler of the Sivir in the bot side.
I mean, like you said, you would happily trade Maokai for Cho'Gath. Do you think Maokai is better? Well, Phoenix1 decided just to take both of them. I think remove all the guesswork there for Cloud9. No need to consider which one they want because they're going to get neither. Taliyah is that last pick for C9 out of this phase. And like we saw on the P1 side, going to start protecting this pick with a couple bans here in phase 2.
Yeah, and so we'll see what Pirean's able to pick here. The Cinder ban I expect to come out. Yes, the Cassiopeia is the question mark, and maybe the Orianna. But what does Pirean want to play alongside this team here? The Corki is a possibility. Corki and then like Braum might be what you want as Phoenix1 to round out the whole team. But right now, you kind of want to target that top lane because they haven't picked a top laner or a jungler here. Get rid of some of those bad matchups, the Gnar, possibly Jarvan, possibly Renekton as well. Is another champion you want to ban away.
Yeah, I like the Gnar ban a lot, actually. Just kind of protecting their tank picks. We saw some Cloud9.
It's another good impact pick, too.
Yep, and there's the Lucian ban for C9. So actually the same 2 bans and the same pick in here for C9. Again,
as a Taliyah expert, are those 2 of the worst champions to play?
I mean, I think a lot of people consider that these are they have such good early pressure. Taliyah's huge advantages are her early levels, and then the fact that once she gets out of those levels, she can start leaving lanes. So we saw this from Phoenix1, banning his away from Jensen. I think correctly showing the same respect here for Cloud9.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Free up that power and the Rek'Sai. Okay.
One of the most common pairings with Taliyah is also this Rek'Sai. C9 have done this as early as last week. They were playing this combination. Taliyah needs some setup CC, kind of like Cho'Gath, to make sure things get going. So I like these bans from Phoenix1. A very smart navigation of this draft early, but C9 gonna have to make some difficult decisions here, as looks like Contractz might just stick to a standard here with Lee Sin.
I feel like you're left with either Lee Sin, Sejuani, or Kha'Zix here, because Gragas is banned, Rek'Sai's banned, and then you had Cho and Maokai taken away as well as Elise. So he wasn't left with a whole lot. He was left with like a tanky option and then the Playmaker. So goes with the Playmaker and Elise in. So a little bit more early game for Cloud9, which worked out for them last game.
We'll see what Phoenix1 have to finish off again. I think a really solid core of 3 champions that they picked in the first half, and now can kind of just pick through whatever supports they need. C9 invested so much into Jensen's matchup that Xpecial, apart from the Thresh being taken, isn't actually going to be under too much pressure. And this is something that people have also started picking up. Kassadin in a lot of these majors is pretty effective, so that'll be the pick there for Pirean. And then Xpecial's going to get a fun one, maybe. Alistar also seeing a rise in play as the champion that Xpecial knows very, very well. But see exactly where Phoenix1 settle on support picks. It looks like maybe Tom Kent is something they're thinking a bit more of, just to help in that 2v2 matchup. Or Taric.
Yes!
All right, Zirene, tell me about Taric.
So I was telling people, I'm like, I think Taric is actually really, really good right now. The changes to him actually look like you're hacking the game, because when you Q, you auto, and you instantly get to Q again, and then you auto, and you constantly do that in a chain. So if you get into a melee matchup against anybody, you keep auto-attacking and using Bravado as well as your Q, and it keeps giving you stacks of Q and instantly refreshes the cooldown. And it looks ridiculous, and the kind of the icing on the cake there is every time you do that, the Bravado passive also reduces the cooldown of your E stun. So he actually gets a lower cooldown on his linear stun later in the game, and it's pretty ridiculous to play against. And if you're going for team fighting with Sivir Taric, this is a team that runs at your face, dives the tower, doesn't give a damn about the tower damage, and they're very tanky, as well as they can scale incredibly well. So Cloud9, I feel like they have to hit early and often and try to make something happen, and the Shen pick is definitely going to help them out there to try and make some early action.
Yeah, kind of an interesting last pick from Cloud9. Shen has dropped pretty heavily in popularity, I'd say, but it is still a tank that Impact can play. I think they considered Rumble for last-minute switching. Rumble, of course, traditionally a lane bully against a lot of these tanky champions, but Impact deciding that needs maybe a little more global and team-wide threat. So potentially taking one of the more underwhelming tank top laners, despite how powerful his ultimate is, into what could be a rough early game here for C9. Because like you said, if they can't get it going early, they're going to run into so much trouble in the mid-game.
Yeah, and I feel like the top laners for Cloud9 right now, it hasn't so much been that, oh, you know, Ray played, why is he playing? Impact's better. It's kind of been back and forth on who's performing better, and it's been really even this split so far. And I feel like Impact having a lot of champions taken away from him and then going for comfort still is a good thing for him. Just making sure that he's on a champion he's very familiar with, even if the matchup may not be as familiar right now with the Cho'Gath kind of being that new top laner people are playing. It's still good to have him on this champion that he can play his game and try to affect the map with.
Well, certainly see what happens here, because P1 have dropped themselves up a doozy as they move into game number 2. Not one, but 2 of the big tanks here inhabiting that top half of the map. And
I feel like if you screw up versus this P1 team, you kind of lose the game. Like,
that seems bad.
I mean, I'm being completely honest here too. Like, if you give this Kassadin some early kills, the Taric gets to get freed up in lane if something bad happens bottom, and you can go for dives earlier than normal, or even this Cho'Gath or this Maokai. Like, this team, it's not so much like snowballing, like, oh, this guy is killing everybody because he's a Maokai. That doesn't happen. It's more so they get to force the issue and play their style earlier, because otherwise they're kind of at the mercy of C9's early game. C9 have a winning mid lane. I feel like their bottom lane, quote-unquote, wins, except in like pressure, where the Sivir will constantly push you out with ricochets and be able to CS. But it's whoever gets better roams bottom. And on top lane, the Cho'Gath gets to push a little bit more with the Vorpal spikes.
I think we're looking at a pretty different jungle matchup as well. Felt like MikeYeung wanted to take the assassin into Kayn. This time around, he's going to have a tank versus the very aggressive Lee Sin from Contractz.
Yeah, and against that, you know, MikeYeung has played Sejuani and a few other like tank champions on the new patch, but hold on, they're trying to invade.
Invade here, but Jensen is going to get some poke down onto Pirean.
Yeah, they want to make sure the same thing doesn't happen, right, with the Maokai saplings early being set up. You want to be able to disrupt it. He's put 2 down. Okay. I won't nitpick it just too much. Don't worry.
There's another one. Mike comes into the
but if
left
they both
side
hit at the same time, nice. Okay, cool. So because they don't hit at the same time, it's better, because there's only 1 dot. Even if 3 hit at the same time, you only get that one of them giving extra damage, and that'll kill it. Pop, pop.
And just like that, red buff is gone. MikeYeung going to move in onto the Raptor camp and have his sapling help out there as well. So again, all these new picks, there's a lot of different intricacies you have to learn, but again, another nice little setup there from MikeYeung, and that camp evaporates.
Yep. I like doing the Raptors second because you do a lot of damage with the saplings. Start on a buff, and then move over to the Raptors once you have your Q, because the saplings do % HP damage, and there isn't that much HP on the Raptors, so the little ones don't take as much as, say, from a Maokai Q and Arcane Smash.
Yep, you can see 2v2 already action early as the flayback from Smoothie.
Bramble Smash.
Did hope get some nice shots down from Sneaky. Prior to the Colossus is the master choice there for Thresh, and Xpecial actually with wind speakers. So he said kind of all that healing that Taric can chain together.
Oh, Contractz is invading. So he took a EXP Quint, did 2 camps into going for the Scuttle Crab. This is warded up by MikeYeung, though, who's now going to see that ward. Now going to see Contractz.
Ooh, big whip barely going to miss, but Contractz actually nails MikeYeung instead. Damage.
He's going to get laid down
here, but nice bramble there from MikeYeung, smashing Contractz back. Pirean, though, already pressured, so Contractz feeling a lot of ease to walking up this jungle because these solo laners are pushing.
Yeah. The fact that you pick a Kassadin, like I said, you have a losing mid lane, and the Taliyah gets to shove in, you get to kind of have priority in the jungle here, and Contractz will take this away. It is well played because you can't sit on your hands against this team composition of Phoenix1. You have to be very active. Can't mess up either. Can't drop the ball early. And so far, it's been going quite well for Cloud9. First 3 minutes of the game, and looking good.
Also, shutting down a lot of that damage there from Cho'Gath.
Get a lot of that % HP damage from the Q pass through on Shen. And now he knows that Contractz is topside, so the dive would be quite easy.
Oh, just going to take a turret hit. No problems there. It is kind of interesting, though, to consider, again, like the metagame shift, because 714 has added so much to the game. I think a lot of the reason Shen might not have been as good is just because of how many fighters and bruisers were in the top lane. But if people are just playing a lot of tanks here, maybe Shen actually does feel like he's got a better suite of matchups now, with not being the exception, which was already banned away.
Yeah, there's a big possibility there, because Shen actually does quite well into other tanks with the % HP damage that he has at all points in the game. And it affects their itemization, because you kind of want to go for, magic resist up against the Shen, because the Vorpal Blade is magic damage. But you usually want to itemize like early Ninja Tabi or something like that for the AD carry as a top laner. It does affect you in that regard, and you might get something early like an Abyssal Mask. We'll see.
Well, very aggressive from Impact. Double longswords, actually, the pickups there.
Tiamat.
Imagine that's Tiamat.
That's for priority. But I was talking about how like the Cho'Gath should shove a little bit harder top lane. This will completely change that. Once you get the Tiamat and you shove him in, now you have 2 to 3 lanes as Cloud9 with priority, which should be shoving in. This bottom one is kind of neutralized, but I think the jungle matchup is definitely in favor of Contractz. So Cloud9, in terms of the draft, have a little more winning lanes, and that allows you to win the jungle and kind of spill your advantage over there. And they want to control MikeYeung, who, Contractz said, wants to kill the hype.
Certainly a good amount of velocity here for Cloud9 early in the game, as Contractz going to have a quick visit through mid lane. Looks like he's not ganking there just yet, but Jensen playing up very aggressive. Does knock him back in, Pirean gets some damage back there with a Force Pulse.
Yeah, Jensen's out of mana, though, so kind of hanging around here still, making sure that he shoves it all the way into the turret. The Kassadin will get some free farm as he goes for a back.
Yeah, important to note, Pirean did already burn his teleport, actually, and
for nothing in terms of items.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. So MikeYeung going to invade. Good smite away, gets the big raptor for his troubles, but a safe back there for Jensen. Going to go back and get that lost chapter. MikeYeung going to take away the plant out of Cloud9's jungle. Definitely able to leave his jungle a lot more freely. Contractz just completely ran over MikeYeung as far as total jungle control and pressure went. So MikeYeung, despite having, kind of the more defensive jungle pick, able to find Contractz and do a nice little bit of out-smiting for some counter jungling. Yeah, it feels like if you're playing the aggressive AD jungler early against the tank jungler, you can't be shy at all about invading. But if you're the tank jungler, you also can't just be like, oh, I'm a tank jungler, and be like defensive and get in your shell. You really do have to kind of still be a presence on the map, or you give too much free reign to the early game jungler. Yep, don't want to lose slowly, certainly. So we'll have a look at Jensen's. Yeah, this was the ridiculous thing about his Week 6 performances. It was 1 win, 4 losses, but only 3 deaths in 4 losses. 21 kills, 3 deaths, and 24 assists. And for some extra context on that, his team had 69 deaths other than him, and everybody else averaged 17 deaths overall. So, I mean, Jensen has just been playing so spectacularly well, and that is with Cloud9 having maybe a rougher season than they may have expected coming off their finals appearance in spring. MikeYeung, though, just taking away his jungle. Contractz continuing to poke in there. His Impact gets a great taunt in onto the Cho'Gath. Level 6 is here, but not for Contractz. So Zig already used his feet.
Oh, here comes Jensen.
Feel this invade. Jensen's going to roam up as well. Contractz aiming up that kick. Landed the Q already. Oh, Have to be careful though. Going to push the wave all the way in, and now Zig can't really run anywhere. Does knock up Impact, but damage still coming out. The silence is good. Jensen taking up a few too many hits, but Burst Blood over to Contractz.
Yeah, they're going to dive perfectly on top of Zig, shutting him down. I mean, when MikeYeung came in, there was a lot more top focus from Phoenix1 with the Nidalee Renekton combos that they were constantly busting out. But now it just seems like ganking top lane, getting Impact freed up, getting him an advantage in this matchup is very much so helping Cloud9. And people criticize Jensen like, oh, you know, 21 kills, 3 deaths in their losses. He obviously didn't do enough with his gold lead. That's why this Taliyah, I feel like, is going to be a good champion to see what's changed for him this week, because now he can affect those side lanes and roam very frequently. And so that's what you're looking for here, is how much he can spread the lead around once he has an advantage. And up against a Kassadin, it's like the easiest matchup to do it against, too.
Certainly given.
But he's going to go in. Oh.
Pirean getting aggressive again. There's actually the ultimate from Impact. Might turn it back around. Jensen flashes forward. Impact with a taunt. Knock back in there, and Jensen grabs a kill.
Yeah, that Rift Walk level 1 has such a long cooldown. It's 5.7 seconds. He went in. Immediate response there from Impact. Pirean didn't try to kind of go against the shield and burst it, because the Storm Raider surge from Jensen was giving a little more extra mobility. And the flash chase was right on point.
Well, favor returned there for Impact after Jensen's roam to the top lane. Impact pops down with the ultimate into mid lane as C9 getting aggressive everywhere. Really looking for the hook, does land it in onto Xpecial, but Sneaky not there ready with the follow-up. Still up a decent little bit of CS there for Sneaky, and once again Cloud9 feels like all that early pressure we needed to see from them really to get this game going for them is looking good in these first 10 minutes. Still going as well, but Stun's going to land in. Xpecial starting to get the slaps down. Smoothie trying to peel him away, but Xpecial unrelenting in that damage. Brute does land though. Hook's going to land in as well. Smoothie going to try and play him back with the ulti pop by Arrow's going to look to turn a kill around. Stun is going to land in onto Sneaky. Smoothie barely dodging the rest of that damage.
Yeah, Maokai also on this side as well. The ultimate could come through from MikeYeung, but Contractz comes over and scares him off.
Yep, grabs the Scuttle Crab as well and dodges that sapling. So right place, right time for both junglers as the 2v2 erupts there in bot lane. Impact though starting to really leverage his lead.
Here comes Jensen. Doesn't have wall just yet, but he's come with Contractz. Level advantage here, and they're going to be able to pressure this down.
Ultimate from Sneaky.
Jensen's got an ulti.
Going to poke in. There's a Taric ult. Going to try and wait it out. Can still be CC'd though. Contractz flash kicks one back in, but the TP down from C9. Going to try and complete the play. Contractz too far as MikeYeung up to take him down, and Pirean has entered this bot lane. Jensen now going to have to run away as Zig also moved down.
Yeah, this is everybody as well. Impact canceled his teleport, doesn't have the stand united because he used it earlier mid lane. They're going to try to rush down for first turret here. This is a decent wave. That Captive Audience is going to do a good job of getting rid of some of that minion wave. And Impact actually
just racing at this point.
He's chipping away at it. Get that ice picked out.
Yeah. One little champion versus four doesn't seem like a very fair race. First Horror goal over to Phoenix1.
Spread out through everybody. So nobody's walking away with that extra 650. It's kind of just all over the place now, but Impact will get something back. That's an early Bramble Vest for Zig as well. Single purchase there, Bramble Vest.
One of the other changes on this patch.
Yeah, the Bramble Vest being introduced with the Grievous wounds when people hit. It's really good against AD carries with Warlord's Bloodlust, but right here, Xpecial has enough to ulti. He's level 6. Sneaky actually doesn't hold his shots either. The ulti comes out, and this right here was kind of confusing because it's there. Now he starts throwing the shots again. Not timed correctly, so he doesn't do damage to MikeYeung, but even then, cancels it. Doesn't get the last, I believe the last one off there. But still, overall, it's like you shouldn't be diving that when you see the Taric ulti come out. I know you've kind of put a lot into that gank, but you kind of have to just back off, not go when you see the ultimate from Taric come out. And I think it's just such a strong champion to kind of manipulate these team fights. And that's why I think we're going to see it a little bit more over time. Also, if there, for those few Taric players out there, you want to put two points into your Q, the heal, because now every time you attack, you get a, with your passive, you get a charge. So you want to put 2 points in it, because now it's on a charge system. And then you put the rest of the points in E into the stun. Because otherwise, you're doing the double attack and only getting a single charge of your heal, whereas now it has like stacking effects, so it's much better to put just 2 in.
Makes sense, and Xpecial clearly practice there. Bottom turret going to fall over to C9. Nice pop down from Contractz, able to make sure that happens, but Impact currently in a soon-to-be 1vX. As Arrow getting the lane pushing up there. C9 actually pushing through though as Pirean are looking for that Rift Herald, so going to be pretty behind on these races for Taric. C9 not done yet. Gonna at least stay for this wave, it looks like.
Yeah, they're gonna keep pushing. They already got the top turret. Impact has Tiamat, so he's just gonna keep pushing and clearing waves. The answer here is actually very poor.
Tower dive. Zig actually the target, but he flashes out of the way. Contractz again needs to get back to the lantern and does so. In fact, rode in. Jensen going to try and cut them off, but the wall's a little short there at rank 1.
Yeah, and they have to clear out the minion wave if they want to do anything here.
Oh, good taunt actually onto Pirean. Does get rid of it. Good play there from Smoothie and kills across the board. Xpecial. Ultimate finally finishes channeling, but that's far too late.
These have been awful answers from Phoenix1, but really good pressure situations from Cloud9. They get that first bottom tier 1 turret, and they don't even lose their top tier 1. They start doing the Rift Herald, and Impact is able to hold by himself, and then they just kind of split the map in a really awkward way as Phoenix1, and they don't have wave clear, right? If the composition doesn't have wave clear without Sivir, you can pick the Kassadin and the Sivir, because the Kassadin mid laner doesn't have it. If normally your mid laner has your wave clear, but the Sivir's supposed to help, because she's the one splitting the top side, and so Cloud9 get 2 turrets off of that, and they get the Drake. And all they lost was Rift Herald.
And now actually moving sneaky up to that top lane, who has finished a Ghost Blade, which did get a bit of a buff, but we'll see how this all kind of laid out by C9.
These are just strange answers here. This is a 3v5. With a minion wave there that can't be cleared out or isn't being cleared out, so the turret doesn't jump on anybody before it dies, and then Impact just jumps in, but everybody pretty much with the knockback there from Jensen, and just so much damage.
Yeah,
trying to get that mid lane turret. This, I don't know if this will even work. Everybody's here. They're looking at, it's not going to charge. Shelly.
Very vulnerable to CC. It's going to finally line it up, but not a lot of damage being done. Dies as it smacks its head into the turret. Died doing what it loved, at least. Not particularly effective, fortunately for P1. So, I mean, that was also the objective. They traded for all of the action that unfolded in the bottom lane. So, that is a very poor return on investment for that Rift Herald.
The worst trade deal in the history of trade deals.
Not ideal.
Seriously, though, that was pretty bad from Phoenix1 in terms of just overall macro and map play. In Cloud9, when you draft a composition that has lane priority and you get to use it in this way, it just makes this Tiamat purchase look like it's what you want to get on Shen first item every game. Not always the case, but Impact understood that that was his job, was to hold those top lane waves, and then was able to participate in the bottom side. We'll see, Arrow.
Ooh, Arrow with a good spell shield, but there's maybe Xpecial not being so lucky. Contractz going to dive in again. MikeYeung returns the ultimate to try and disengage the fight. Brown was going to tie up a couple, but no follow-up there from Phoenix1 as C9 continued to siege here in mid.
Yeah, and Phoenix1 just kind of have to stop the bleeding, and
Jensen's the target, going to try and get peeled away. Good stun there as Pirean able to land that kill. MikeYeung does fall down. The ultimate from Xpecial to try and continue the play, but Jungler dead, so no more engaged.
Well, also at the same time, Impact 30 CS up, shoving the bottom wave. Zig hasn't really gotten to be a part of this. He's 2 levels down. And it's just been rough life for him. Got ganked early. Not able to do much on the bottom side of the map either.
You can see again, C9 trying to bounce that pressure back and forth. Sneaky did move towards the top lane, but I think that's already shoving, so instead C9 going to move back towards mid perhaps.
Yeah. And C9 need to keep the pace of this game up, so having that mid lane tier 1 go down is what they want. They want to be able to get wards around top and mid, and then just keep pressuring. They have the wave clear advantage. You have to put Arrow in one lane. You can't put him across the map. And they'll be able to push down because of the fact that this composition, just from the perspective of pressure, just has more on Cloud9 side early. Later, you'll get the 1-3-1 from Phoenix1. And you can see this punish onto Jensen, but then also MikeYeung going down. Just a trade there of 1-for-1, and then everybody resets and just grabs waves. Yeah, you have to keep the pressure up, so we'll see if Contractz goes for something here.
Yeah, really good positioning just in the Raptor camp. As P1 actually peel off together to get some vision down and donate the blue buff to Pirean.
Oh, they're going down bottom. Cloud9 are going to try to kill Zig here.
Not quite getting cut off here, but the rest of the team's there. Puts the wall down, hops off, and now Zig going to get rooted back in. Knocked the other way as there's the play from Smoothie. Just knocked around all over the place. Zig falls to Jensen.
Yep, and now mid lane, Arrow is shoving it, trying to get that tier 1, but Cloud9 are going to say, all right, we'll trade a tier 1. We'll put pressure on the bottom side of the map and this inhibitor turret. We'll see what happens here, because remember, Arrow is that sole source of wave clear that they really have to worry about, and now here's all this damage on this turret.
Impact can join as well, so C9, huge amount of initiative here in the bottom lane. Going to be able to take down this inhibitor turret. Inhibitor itself will stay unthreatened, but C9 opening up a big hole in the map they can try and exploit.
These trade deals, man. Over and over again. Because of the wave clear being exploited. Wherever Arrow is, just go somewhere else, make a play. They were able to exploit Zig there, who's just kind of starved for farm now down 42 CS. You know he wanted to farm that wave. They're preying on that, and immediately just went there and got it. So Cloud9 really just identifying a lot of the issues in P1's macro game when there's pressure on them early.
And I feel like such a big change from the C9 we saw in the last weekend, where even when they had advantages with like Impact's Nah, they weren't playing to side lanes nearly the same way. So certainly have refined a lot of those things. And I think, yeah, maybe having to relearn some principles here and there, but Pat seems to be helping out for the team, and certainly a lot more together than they were in their O2 week.
Exactly. And as a connoisseur of memes, the one about Jensen not spreading his lead around enough is sometimes true, where he gets attention and it doesn't go to other side lanes. Well, when he's playing the Taliyah, it's your job to do that, and he's been able to do that. So I'm loving his wall so far this game, and it's definitely a champion that circumvents that kind of play style that they fall into sometimes when Jensen's the only one who's doing well on the team.
So Sneaky and Arrow having a duel. Arrow losing the early trades. Looks like another dirt up for Sneaky, so the return of lethality. Jhin appears to be in full force from the solo queue. Now into NA LCS Zirene. I'm hoping that's a Duskblade for Sneaky, and that's my assumption.
Yes, I would assume so as well. The Duskblade, exact same build path as Youmuu's, by the way. The Caulfield's Warhammer and the Serrated Dirk.
Daggers everywhere.
Yep, just buy both. They don't know what you're going for. And you eventually just buy both of them anyway. So 8 daggers for your first 2 items. How's that? Sounds like a great build path.
Once upon a time, there was a very well-known top laner that loved to build daggers. He would be proud of the metagame we have now found ourselves in. That was PDD, for anyone playing trivia at home. Jarvan expert and dagger connoisseur.
Exactly. I remember the Jarvan.
Just every game, man.
It's funny.
So many daggers.
Even like thinking about Ray's old builds, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what are you going for? Oh,
daggers. Only daggers. Good cut up there from Jensen, but the ulti from Xpecial might turn it back around. Paul going to try and land in with a great double stun. The root lands in, but the playback from Smoothie is Jensen barely alive, gets healed out of it. With a massive amount of knockbacks, going to lock up Contractz. Impact still trying to fight it out, but C9 on the retreat. Another good knockback as Pirean chasing him down. Impact, he's tying up as many as he can, but the carries are going to finally get a pick onto Pirean. Impact going down, fighting him. He gets feasted on by Zig. Huge team fight win for P1.
P1 want this, and right now, MikeYeung is kind of getting blown up.
They don't want this, though.
Zig has to take both the Dragon and the shots. MikeYeung is going to actually get one back there. Jensen's going to try to flank. He's going to try to kill.
Oh, MikeYeung.
Oh, he went to the Dragon.
A few more seconds. Zig now going to chase that. Sneaky. Silence going to land in. Sneaky going to get knocked up, but he dodges the next hit. Movement speed. No, not enough. The autos do take him down. And P1 even going to get the Drake out of the deal.
All right. I said it earlier where Phoenix1 scale and want to have those team fights with the Sivir ulti and the Xpecial Taric ulti. And if you make a mistake as Cloud9, you could lose the game. Right here is a great example. Arrow actually gets over the wall with Blast Cone so you can participate. They all rush in. Impact actually doesn't make contact there. Gets rooted before the end of his taunt. And then just the rush down. There was so much threat on that front line. Just rushing straight past. Impact nowhere in sight near his back line. So Jensen and Sneaky have to run, and they're already taken low by these tanks. And that's the thing about having multiple tanks on your team and this invulnerabilities. You get to trade damage for free, take 0 in response, and then you're able to dish out a lot. And that's why we've seen a lot of these tanks come back, is the fact that they can deal a decent amount of damage. When we see like a Gargoyle or Stoneplate come out for Zig, he's going to be nomming people for like 1,700 true damage, and it gets pretty ridiculous. But he's looking at that possibly 3rd item plus here.
Nice windfall though for P1 as they close that gap. C9 still up 3,000 gold, but equalizing those Drakes and getting a team fight win is a step in the right direction for Phoenix1. C9 still playing very much for these long side lanes as well, with the mid-outer turret still being up for P1. That's kind of the one geographical advantage P1 currently sit with. So now going to, again, use some of that momentum and roam up towards the top side, because Sneaky is looking very vulnerable.
Yep, turret dive. Smoothie's going to try to save him.
And Zig's going to try and deny that impact up as well. Going to try and buy a lot more time. Silence lands in, but Smoothie able to kite them out for a little while longer. Root lands in. There's the Tornadoes. Arrow actually takes that Contractz on the other side of the map. The rest of P1 up here, though. Whoa.
All that damage onto Arrow now. As soon as it hits, they're going to dive.
Time to dive in. Flash stun for Xpecial finds 2. Impact back in with the root, but Cloud9 still fighting it out. Jensen with a good little bit of Brute down, but does take down Zig as the ult wears off.
Wants Arrow, he wants Arrow!
Looking for Arrow, does get it, but Jensen now snared up, finds a triple, but is going to fall down. MikeYeung able to get that kill on another bloodbath in top lane.
There's a 4 for 3. These team fights, if you keep playing on P1's terms, they got to the point now where they can force. We talked about how Cloud9 early game, Lee Sin can force, Taliyah can force. Now they have Sivir and Taric freed up. You can constantly go for tower dives. And this is going to get pretty disgusting pretty quick. I hope your play-by-play's ready, Pastry, because this game's about to get explosive, and I feel like a lot of these team fights, easy to execute from Phoenix1, very difficult to navigate as Cloud9, because you have to also navigate the early part of it, the macro game, because here comes the wall. It's just going to root everybody up. Jensen's going to get hit by it, or sorry, Sneaky's going to get hit by it, and then chain rooted, and they just are able to obliterate people under turret. Contractz got taken out very early there, because we saw him kind of walk by and be like, oh, just, you know, taking a casual stroll by the Sivir, trying to get to the fight.
Pretty ridiculous amount of damage by both sides, though, for C9.
Phoenix1 scales so well, too.
And again, that gold lead closes 2,000 gold up now for Cloud9, who are barely 3,000 before that last team
Yeah,
played.
and now you definitely can't stay in the lane that Arrow's in, because we talked about a long time ago how Sivir's just wave clear when we made it so Ricochet crit is disgusting. Now that Static Shiv is in the state that it's in, where it has enormous wave clear and can crit and does a lot of damage to minions, Arrow's going to be able to be more than enough wave clear here for the lack of wave clear of Kassadin.
And again, C9 going to just have to go back to kind of that 1-3-1 formation. Impact back down to the bottom side. Ultimate's ready. Jensen going to do the same with his up towards that top lane.
But it makes you so easy to pick off in a side lane. And Phoenix1, whenever they see Impact on a side lane, you're just going to push your go buttons, try to force him to come to you, because he wants to go for that inhibitor right now, right? He's actually walking past the minions to try and force something. Impact is actually going Rambo.
I mean, has to do something here. I think Cloud9 know that straight-up team fights are not their forte at this stage of the game.
Yep, you got to back, got to deal with this. Pull somebody there. Pirean will probably answer because he has teleport.
And looks like he will. Impact unlikely to die, but pretty long lane to go running from. And Impact's like, yeah, I don't want to try.
Yeah, but he has to pull people away. He has to pull people to him, or else he's just casually kind of looking for CS, and then everybody's going to engage, because you have better engage tools, in my opinion, on Phoenix1's, where the Sivir ultimate plus the Taric ultimate are very good in tandem. It's actually funny. I was talking to Smoothie last night when he was streaming, and I was like, what do you think about Taric? And he's like, I think he's all right. You know, I see him like once every 6 games. We'll see.
Oh my goodness.
Power of Taric makes it in this game.
MikeYeung flashes in. The wall's going to move them all back in a huge bouncer castle. Gets one, a sneaky fall. Smoothie going to go down next with Impact. He makes it in time with the ultimate, but I don't think he can save anybody else.
Yep, and now there's a Baron on the table. I don't know if they're going to push for it, though. I feel like you might siege mid. Maybe they're going to look for something here. Pirean kind of low.
C9 hoping for a pick off.
Actually, I think you do Baron, because
Cho'Gath.
How do you screw it up with Cho'Gath? Exactly.
That's one of those things where you kind of think about all of the different things that Cho'Gath can do.
And with 2 tanks, MikeYeung should be in a different position here. Xpecial's the one zoning, but there's easier access to Arrow.
Yeah, Impact actually moving in as Xpecial does moving. Decent wall there from Jensen trying to trap them in the pit. But Impact, he's straight into the back of it. This Baron should be P1.
Nom it.
But they actually just keep fighting. Does nom it down and goes over to Phoenix1 and now stunned into the pit. That's Impact falling down to the rest of P1.
Whoa.
Aggressed on Pirean.
Deathfire.
Get a kill. DFT's enough. There's a double kill for Kassadin.
And they messed up, and Phoenix1 now have the lead. It was brutal in the early game for them. Cloud9 were doing so well, and then you drop the ball once, and the team fight just starts snowballing over and over again. This composition from Phoenix1 is just disgusting if they make it to the mid game. So there's so much pressure on Cloud9 to close the game out early, and then these types of fights will happen. You can see Pirean jumps onto Jensen, forces him back, so he can't really keep contesting, and that pulled Contractz back as well. Contractz was more concerned with guarding Jensen than stealing the Baron, and it would have been impossible to as well, because Zig actually went for a 900 damage Baron execute there.
I mean, yep, C9, I think the only way we get this Baron is if we kill all of P1, which not really going to happen, but have to try something. And now P1, they find themselves up in gold with the Baron, and now going to take away the Infernal Drake.
And so Phoenix1 kind of have the S plus and S tier like jungler in terms of like how likely you are to win games, because the enemy team has to play perfect early and mid and late game, or hopefully not have a late game against this team comp, because there's so much engage power. And then they paired it with a Sivir. It's so hard to not start fights. Here comes double Righteous Glories. and they're able to just go in. They're going to camp that, make sure it doesn't happen.
Yeah, Impact cancels that TP. Ultimate not up for a little while.
Pirean's going to split push with Lichbane now, and Zhonya, so he can team fight and split push. Well, the Kassadin, kind of hard to answer now. Almost level 16 at that level 16 power spike where his Rift Walk becomes a 1.5-ish second cooldown based on his CDR.
And that turret should fall here. Minion's going to make enough work of it. No, Jensen actually clears him out. Pirean leaves a little early, but
go for
damage
mid,
is done, and now the mid tier 2 is threatened.
Yeah, it's right on time for when he wants to leave because the fact that it allows him to get this mid turret. And now they get to go back and forth, and now Phoenix1 making it interesting.
Cute play there from Pirean. Just Rift walks over and gives the turret the final slap it needed. C9, they kind of know they have to force a fight here because they had the global pressure advantage, it felt like at one point, but with Pirean being at the power point that he's at right now.
Yeah. So it was like Zig was 2 levels down behind Impact, but now Pirean is a level up over Jensen, and so he has a large advantage, and now hitting that level 16 and that power spike of the Kassadin, oh, it's a 1.2 second cooldown Rift Walk, so very constant in terms of how much he can do them. Very constant in terms of how constantly he can do it.
Constantly doing it, by the looks of things. Blue buff over to Pirean as well, going to make that even easier. C9 do zerg down the mid turret, so finally able to bust open the outer section of the map, but that'll be evened up by P1 as they take this top outer and look to play with the next 35 seconds of their Baron buff.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the CS now. It's like Zig, he's down about 60, but it doesn't matter because he's part of those team fights, right? Gets the Righteous Glory, presses it, silences everybody for 2 seconds because you max the W second. Just the team fight power of Phoenix1's comp is pretty unrivaled in this game. It's going to be so hard for C9 to win in terms of a team fight in a 5-on-5, but even split pushing, they don't have as many TPs, and the Kassadin is just really difficult to answer. Here comes the dive.
Another Maokai ulti.
Looking for turret damage more than anything.
Everybody's going down to the way, gets a double root on the back end of it as C9 going to try and find it out.
Taric ulti.
MikeYeung actually kicked out of it, doesn't get in. Jensen able to pick him off, but Impact already fell. Inhibitor turret falls down, and now the inhib itself threatened by the rest of P1. A hook lands again, though, in onto Zig. Forced to flash out of the way. C9 still do a decent amount of damage as Contractz faints in, baiting out that Taric stun.
Yeah, Arrow flashed as well. He flashed and healed. Like, he spooked him.
Well, C9 still take a lot of hits there as Phoenix1 able to knock down the turret in that top lane. Inhibitor will stand, so a bit of breathing room for C9, but a monumental Baron power play to give P1 the lead.
Yeah, and so here comes the Maokai ultimate just being used. Nature's Grasp just to make sure that everybody is zoned away. They'll push Sneaky back, they'll push Contractz back, and then Jensen has the wall to prevent the retreat. Really well played there on the Taliyah, and then the kick out there to kill MikeYeung and make sure he doesn't get the invulnerability. They get the turret, and they don't get much more after that. They get some inhibitor damage. Then this is going to end up forcing the Cho'Gath flash, and it's also going to get the flash out of Arrow. Well, sometimes going for the feint is worth it.
A nice few plays there from C9, but it's only little advantages that they're really building here.
Yeah, and right now it's so hard to go up against this team comp, and the items are coming in as well. We have the Gargoyle Snowflake from Zig.
Oh, it's just slowed for so long. Xpecial going to get kicked back in. Root, no, doesn't land there from Sneaky. He's just going to miss that W.
Yep. Like I was saying, we have these items coming in, like the Gargoyle Stoneplate for Zig, so he has the true damage bite on that scales with bonus HP. Gargoyle Stoneplate counts as doubling your HP, and it's all bonus HP. We'll check in on his stacks. He's at 8 stacks right now. You can actually get another one from minions. Surprised that he hasn't gone for one. The way that the stacks work on Cho'Gath now is it says you can get 6 total stacks from minions or monsters, or non-epic monsters. He's at 5 out of 6. So it'll just say you can get 6 from it. He is at 8 right now. It means you can keep getting more. So he's just missing out a little bit there.
He'll find one. I think he's more concerned with numbing champions as Sneaky does get the red buff miraculously right out from under Phoenix1, who are looking to steal it. But the real prize is this inhibitor in top lane. With Baron spawning back up in a minute, it's a prime bit of real estate for Phoenix1 to demolish.
And we're going to have Cho'Gath pushing the mid lane instead of the bottom lane, a much closer lane to rotate to. And so he'll try to get control of the mid section here, the areas in between. And then you can kind of path between the two. And then force. I feel like Phoenix1 right now, you can just say, hey, screw it, hit all your buttons, let's force it. Taliyah wall comes out.
Oh, nice wall, actually going to cut off Pirean, but he's the one that gets over it easily. So Rift walk over, Sivir ult hot. Zig taking damage on the front line, but he soaks so much. Hasn't even popped the stone plate yet. Inhibitor does fall down. P1 just brute force their way through there in top lane.
Just forcing it. And they can do that every time they have Sivir ultimate. Just make everybody super fast.
That was also the only ultimate they used.
Yep.
So still plenty of tools left to fight. C9 not quite able to get as many cooldowns as they would have liked. And pings on the Baron already. It's up in 10 seconds as Phoenix1 going to throw the control ward in the pit. They've already swept out the area, and Cloud9 going to have to face check a brutal team fight combo.
Yep. They don't have the Sivir ultimate, but they have one Righteous Glory up right now. Starting it.
Yep.
Oh, all the wards.
I mean, they get a little bit of temporary vision.
They're actually going to continue to give them vision here. Zig is kind of in charge of the smite duties here. Yep. They have Taric ulti.
Gonna try and kill Xpecial, but he's just a little too tanky. Good knockback again. The invulnerability's coming down as MikeYeung already taken down Impact. Smoothie bound up by the Nature's Grasp, and Pirean dominating takes him down as Jensen followed in from the root. Pirean's gonna flash forward and knock them all back. And Pirean gonna grab that double. Sneaky. One of the few remaining members now dead as Arrow gets Xpecial on Contractz, who cut the wave as best he can, but P1 going to try and end through
They don't want
lane.
that wave. They're going to go through top, exactly like you said, Pastry. Phoenix1 trying to strike back here. This is most likely to end the game here with 30-second death timers.
Respawn's a little too long. TP in from P1. Cho'Gath will return to the scene of the crime. Makes his turret one down. Nexus too soon to follow, and Zig, a celebratory Righteous Glory romping through the Nexus. Phoenix1 going to tie it all up and force a third game. This series has been so much fun so far. Two very different team comps played to excellence by both sides.
And I feel like if there was a title for this series, it's Welcome to 7.14, because everybody is just playing all these different champions, and we're seeing like the Kayn come out and it's like, well, maybe we can't deal with that. Ban it away. They take the Cho'Gath and Maokai, and people are figuring out now through trial and error what the priority on these champions should be, right? I think that you prioritize the Maokai a little bit higher than the Cho'Gath. We saw Phoenix1 do that with the first pick. And then if the Cho'Gath isn't taken by the other team that early on in their first two picks, then you get to take it and you can flex them both. And then you have a better jungle clear, you have great scaling, and then they picked so much in terms of scaling alongside it that it's pretty ridiculous. Like, we saw Cloud9 have an early game advantage, and I said it at the start, you have to play so well all throughout the game, or else you're going to lose it off of a few mistakes.
And they did. It just wasn't throughout the whole game. And as soon as that one team fight happened around Phoenix1's red buff, you could kind of see, oh no, this is why you can't make mistakes. This team punishes so
That's
well.
how I win games. Is that everybody's feeding, and then the tanks come online, and you're like, hold on, just wait for it, and now you're ready to go.
Well, breaking point certainly hit. We've got our analyst desk standing by to break down that game.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Phoenix1 striking back in a pretty dominant fashion again. Once they got control of the game, really closed it out strongly against the C9 squad. Let's talk about these team comps and the adjustments that Phoenix1 made coming into game 2, because we had a lot of questions around how they would respond to the domination from C9 in game 1, and they do return to that Cho'Gath pick, but they support it in a really different fashion.
Right, and I think I'm watching Zig's Cho'Gath the first 2 games that he's been on. It hasn't been super impressive in terms of where he puts his ruptures, how he uses them. But the thing is, if you give him nice, easy setup, it doesn't matter. If you're Maokai W somebody, you put the rupture underneath, great, that person's not moving for a very long time.
Exactly.
And so this team comp becomes a bit of a face roll team comp, one of those death ball ones you used to hear about back in the day when Sivir was a little more popular. You kind of press R, you speed everybody in, they had double Righteous Glory, and you lock down one target and you delete them instantly. And it's especially good against C9's comp where they have double immobile backline threats with the Taliyah and the Jhin. So if you ever get this kind of situation where there's no turret within, 1,000 range of you, they're going to gap close instantly and kill you.
Yeah, triple tank with the utility to get in from the Sivir, as well as another dive threat from the Kassadin as he powers up. On the flip side, again, a very standard team comp. This is something we've seen many teams play, but it does put the onus on C9 to maybe get that Taliyah pick rolling in the mid lane and then extend those advantages using her ult as well as the Shen to maybe get the bot lane moving and then execute from there. But it leaves very little room for error.
All things considered, I think they did execute the early game well enough to have won this game. Zig, like we were saying, struggling a little bit in the matchup, fell behind early on, was forced out of lane very quickly by Impact. And then you see early, Taliyah and Lee Sin visit up there, they get some kills, and then they start forcing around the bot side. Not the cleanest execution, but eventually they took 2 turrets down on the bot lane, and they had snowballed up to about a 3,000 gold lead pre-20 minutes, which should be enough.
Exactly. But again, as we mentioned, it requires very clean execution from the squad. 19 minutes into the game, a 3 for 2 actually ends up being a 4 for 2 with a late sneaky kill after the Dragon as well. But here we go, failed engage from C9, gives Phoenix1 the opportunity to strike back here on the countering game.
Yeah, you just see that big pig pile onto the back line there. They kind of put themselves in that position by getting caught out in the choke. Made it a very easy team fight to execute, as well as having a well-timed ultimate out of Xpecial. He had a number of really well-placed Taric ultimates. Can be a difficult ability to use, and once they delete 2 people instantly, the rest of the front line is just too big to die. So even though you do lose Arrow and Pirean here, Zig and MikeYeung are able to stay alive throughout this whole situation, and the 2 carries still alive for C9 can actually punch through their health bar.
Absolutely. Almost going down here. MikeYeung, twisted advance, gets a little bit of health back, and the shield. Sneaky will go down here. Jensen will escape. But again, a 4 for 2. Not like the largest gold swing in the world, but it's just enough to put Phoenix1 over that threshold in terms of the differential between them and C9 to be too tanky to beat from that point onward.
Yeah, because it starts being where now they can just group up mid and start forcing down. They finally got off their back foot, and they were, you know, like you said, still behind, but even enough that at this point you can find a chance to press R all at the same time and run at somebody, and they were able to start doing that. And that's really where things came off the hinges for C9, because as soon as they started, you know, dying, they couldn't stop. It was just this kind of downhill effect where they just keep running at you. They have so many go buttons. Even if the Sivir ult's down, you have 2 Righteous Glories. You have, you know, the flash available. The Kassadin mobility is just so strong.
Strategy talk here for Phoenix1 as they're moving into Game 3. Got to pick it up in order to take the series, but let's talk about, again, how this comp wants to play. And we had a very perfect example of how this comp wants to play come 24 minutes into the game. Hit that ultimate button on the Sivir, group this 5, pick any target, and just annihilate them.
Yeah, you see that basically engage started all the way back near their turret. They end up near the mid lane turret of C9. They pick off 2 people instantly, no mobility, no way to really get out of there. A box is not really going to deter that. No flay is enough. And they get the 2 kills instantly. And that's the thing is, while P1's team comp doesn't necessarily have great AoE, and it's not like a giant Orianna ultimate, they're going to instantly single target 1 member down. And as soon as that guy is dead, you're fighting a 4v5.
Right. I love the way that Zirene encapsulated, saying that we've gotten to that point in the game where for Phoenix1, it's a no-brainer execution, and it's going to become increasingly more difficult for C9 to navigate these fights. Once again, that one right there definitely turned the game. We even saw C9's Baron contest was pretty much all for naught. That's like rolling the dice there, hoping that you get an insta-kill on a sweet Thresh hook or something of the likes.
That's basically what you have to do, and it's such a hard thing to ask because you do have those big, beefy frontline members. You know, a giant Cho'Gath blocking for that Sivir to actually walk up and hit turrets. A champion that's usually low range can struggle in doing so. A lot easier when you have 3 tanks.
Almost impossible to thread that needle. Player of the game going to Xpecial, a ton of key ultimates. Again, when we talk about C9 are playing that early game correctly, if it weren't for some of the ultimates out of Xpecial, maybe the gold lead balloons to a point where it isn't redeemable.
Right, in that replay in the first one that we had, you saw how he was able to protect them while they ran forward and actually got the first 2 kills. Also, there's one bot lane play where C9 really over-aggressed during the ultimate of Xpecial. They used the Taliyah W as well as Contractz went for a flash kick. They end up doing no damage, and P1's able to turn that, which stemmed the bleeding and just bought more and more time. And that was really impressive out of Xpecial.
I think this is where we return to that discussion around the assassins and lethality versus the viability of tanks, because again, a very standard team comp out of C9, and there were ways for them to win, but this is terrifying to know that, hey, as soon as I pick a Jhin, the other team has the option to draft 3 tanks and say, come at me, you're not going to kill all 3 of us.
That's the thing is right now there's so many good tanks down the bot lane. I mean, we talk about Taric, something that was changed on 7.14. They changed the Q as well as his passive and how he generates his charges for that
We already had Braum and Tom Kench.
You already had those
Alistair got his changes.
So you're looking at a lot more supports, you're looking at a lot more junglers, and the fact that top lane has always been at least somewhat representative with tanks in there. So you can end up with these 3 tank team comps very easily, and that is something that shuts down the double lethality, single lethality very easily.
Right. Now, Shen as a pick, where do you land on that? Because you already mentioned that, hey, level 1, sure, he gets that kind of push advantage, but especially against something like Cho'Gath, I don't see beyond level 3 this being a super impactful pick. And then again, just already in the meta, he wasn't necessarily S tier.
I think it's a little bit surprising to see Zig lose that matchup as hard as he did early on, and it's probably just unfamiliarity because Cho'Gath has been meta for exactly 1 week. How many scrims have you gotten? Have you played this matchup? Most likely not, so I can understand losing it. But then the thing is, if it is going even, you should have your Q and your E to wave clear. Shen needs to get his Tiamat before he can do that. The one reason this got kind of out of control is, like we were saying, with Maokai versus Lee Sin in the jungle and Taliyah versus Kassadin, pre-6, you're just going to get shoved in over and over, and that kind of spilled over into the top lane.
Now, again, something Phoenix1 has to consider here moving back to red side is the fact that Maokai, which they're able to secure this time around, Cloud9 played it in game 1, right? So they might be very willing to just take that away, which makes, again, that Cho'Gath pick that much less viable, especially for Zig, who isn't necessarily showing, 100% proficiency on the champion alone.
True, but you can still find other things to set it up. Do you go back to the Sejuani? We saw MikeYeung play that last week. It didn't work out for him, but it wasn't like, oh, he was bad. It was just that they tended to lose a lot of skirmishes in their laning phase. So you could potentially see a similar enough team comp. We're talking about the Taric. Maybe that ends up being banned now that C9 moves back to blue side, but who knows? Maybe they grab the Alistar for more setup.
Right. Another thought, too, especially for the C9 side, is that, okay, knowing that you might play into triple tank again, just finding more consistent DPS. Taliyah definitely has the ability to pump out damage. Jhin, however, as you mentioned, has trouble getting in, dancing around fights, and of course, when building into tanks, unless you beat that threshold, you're at that threshold, you're like 2K ahead of everyone,
it's a bit of a
and then
race.
you're just one-shotting tanks. If you're not there, then Jhin becomes incredibly ineffective against tanks.
It's a race. Are you going to get your double pen before they get their double armor item?
Right.
And in this game, they were ahead of enough, and then they had made that one mistake. Your tank completes a gargoyle stone plate, and now your Jhin is pew-pewing a 8,000 health Cho'Gath, not quite going to get through that health bar.
Either way, we have ourselves a series. After the break, we'll see if Phoenix1 can close out the comeback in Game 3 versus Cloud9. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the North American LCS.